Well, what is going on, guys? I'm your host, Kyle Kindle, and this is Dude, I Want That Job. Today, I am with Chris McNamara. He is a professional poker player. He is from Florida. He's currently, or just currently, living now in Miami. Chris, you want to say what's up and kind of introduce yourself?
Hey, guys. Yeah, I just moved to Miami a couple weeks ago. I went golfing with Kyle at Topgolf, and he said he had a podcast that was about different jobs, and I figured sounds like a good time.
Excellent. Yeah,
It's
man.
my first podcast, so looking forward to it.
Hey, I'm glad this could be your first. There's always I've noticed lately that like most people I've talked to, it's their first podcast. And it's funny because when I talk to people, I'm like, I'll introduce myself, and it's kind of like a running joke now, but I'll introduce myself to new people. Like I met you the other day. We got talking. The first thing I said to you is like, after you told me your job, and we were just kind of going back and forth with seeing what each other did. You're like, yeah, man, I'm a professional poker player. I was like, what? I've never really met a professional poker player. Have you ever been on a podcast? I remember you just being like, no, never. I've never been on one of those.
So let's do it.
It's a good way to break the ice with people. And thank you for volunteering to come on and help me out, man. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Where you're from, where you went to high school, how old you are, kind of how you got to Miami, whole 9 yards. Just hear it.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's a broad question. Let's, so I guess for high school, I grew up in Ormond Beach area, which is next to Daytona Beach in Florida. And for high school, just it's kind of like a nerd who played that game Halo all the time. I was really into like games. And I remember my parents would always tell me to get off, and I'd always be like, one more game. So in my head, I would always think like, oh wow, I wish I could find a game like to play for a living and get out of this, like having to listen to my parents deal.
Yeah.
So then like fast forward to college, my roommate freshman year, he was from my same town, but we never really hung out. And the first couple of days there, I see he has $10,000 in like an online poker account. I was like, huh? When you're 18 and see 10K, you think like you can buy the world with that. And I was just like, all right, so there is a game that I can actually make money in. And he said, don't start this. It'll ruin your life. I've ruined some of my friends' lives who have tried it. And that was like even more drive. Like, let's go. So that day I started like reading a poker book that he just had by his bedside. And when he realized I was kind of serious about it, I used to like sit behind him and watch him play online. And he at this time is playing for like $1,000 pots. So it's like gets your heart beating. There's like a lot of adrenaline with poker too, which is why gambling's addicted.
Yeah.
Just because it's a blast. So thankfully in the beginning, I started like really small, playing like $7 games. And I saw him playing like 6 at once. So I would try to play like 6 at once online. And then I would just lose it all. And then like ask my mom for like lunch money, and then just put it into poker. And then it got bad to where I like stopped going to class. I'd be like up for like 14 hours straight, just playing till like my eyes bled.
Jeez.
And that was kind of how college was. I actually like dropped out of college sophomore year, the end of sophomore year, because I wanted to play poker for a living and didn't see college having any value for me at that time. Plus, I was failing classes because I wasn't really going anymore.
Sure.
So I was to be good at anything like poker, you have to kind of want it. So it kind of like found me to where like I wouldn't recommend normal people go play it.
Yeah.
Unless you have like a different job. Thankfully, I had things like I was very young. I didn't have responsibilities. And I knew that if like I fucked up, then I could just go back to school.
Sure.
But I wanted to try it. So I ended up moving home, and I don't think I like had any money on my online poker account. There happened to be a casino next to my house. And when I went and played live poker, I realized, wow, these guys are way worse than the competition I'm used to seeing online. And it's for way more money. Like online, I was still playing for like 200 maybe. And then I go see live and they're playing for thousands. And they're worse than the people playing for like $50 online. So I like tried to go back to college. That's why I moved home. And then I was living with my parents. And instead of going to class, I would just be going to the casino. And then I'd come home and they'd be like, "How was class?" I'd be like, "Oh,
it was
great.
great."
Yeah, had a great time, you know. And
math was awesome.
Yeah, math was awesome until. So I did that for like a semester until it came for like them to actually see my grades, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I failed again," but I have like 20,000 now, and they're just like, "What the?" But they don't care. They're like pro school. Like,
oh yeah,
wow, you're an idiot. You're never gonna learn. So that was very hard for me in the beginning when your parents don't support what you do at a young age.
Yeah.
So you're constantly fighting them, and they had like a big influence in my life. So I'm constantly battling them to do something that's essentially gambling. And unfortunately, poker always gets that, I guess, reputation for being gambling, and people associate gambling with bad. Sure. And really, it's the most complex game that involves a lot of skill, but there is the element of luck. So that's also what brings people, how do I explain this?
Brings them back again.
It brings them back because they keep associating luck with you beating them consistently. Oh, he's just luckier than I am. He's just luckier than I am. When really, that's like not at all the case. You're just better than people are if you study more. And kind of went on a tangent there.
So, like, I've always wondered this. How did, like, when you say you study, are you reading books? Are you watching YouTube videos? Is it like actual strategy? Like, what does that look like?
All right. So like during the college time, there wasn't much information available, and people would talk to each other. Like I would meet someone who I would watch them play like online, and I'd realize this guy's like good, like he's consistently winning. So I'd go in the chat online and be like, "Do you want to talk hands?" Or like my roommate, thankfully, would talk some strategy with me, but he never had a big influence because he was always kind of against it. So during like 2010 to 2013, there wasn't much information available on poker compared to today. Today, there's like 5 very reputable training sites that will help you tremendously, and it's no longer a game where you have to like associate yourself with other people to get good at it, because there's a lot of information out there if you know where to look. But just because there's a lot of information out there doesn't mean these people are doing it. Like, doesn't mean poker players are actually putting in the work to watch all these videos, and it's just like a lot of hours consistently.
What do they say? It's like to become an expert at something, you have to put like 10,000 hours into it.
Yeah. And then even after 10,000 hours, for some people, it doesn't still click.
Yeah.
Like, I'd say the large portion of my friends are professional poker players now, or were at one point, where like eventually they didn't enjoy the grind anymore. You don't enjoy playing anymore. Or you just like go broke too many times, or you just want to do something else. So
yeah. What's been the the biggest driver to keep you doing this as a career? Because I mean, obviously, like you said, you went to college and you're like, this is not for me. What made you want to pursue poker full time? Was it just the amount of money you were making? Was it just the competitive aspect?
At when you're like in your 20s and you have like 50,000 and no one else does, like that's kind of, that gives you like some ego to keep.
Sure.
You think you're like cooler than you are because you have money, but you're young and you don't know. So like that gave me drive to always want more. The freedom, like being able to do what you want to do, kind of, to your own boss, is cool.
You're remote.
I enjoyed the like partying aspect of it too. Like poker players when they're younger, like party a lot. I liked going to clubs, getting bottles, woo, you know.
Yeah, I mean, doing the rock star lifestyle. What do your parents think of you doing this now full time? Because obviously they wanted you to get, like, what did your parents envision you doing? First, what are you doing now?
My father was a general contractor. So when I was younger, I used to always like go to job sites with him, and that's what I always was interested in. So that was another reason why I didn't really care about college, was because I knew I could fall back on that as well. And even like now in 2 months, I have a project with him in Ormond where like we're building like a warehouse, but it's going to be for me and I'm invested in it. So that makes it way more interesting when you have like your own money involved. And
so you still pick up other jobs here and there?
No, I've worked for him like before for a couple months, but then something like I always just fall back on poker because of the freedom, and also because I didn't have like any invested interest in the project. So it's like, what am I doing working for, say, $15 an hour with him when I could just play poker and at a minimum make like $100 an hour?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, with that, you're remote, you're doing what you want to do when you want to do it. Where's the craziest place you've gotten to go play poker or traveled to play poker?
So like 2013, online poker became illegal for Americans.
Really?
It's called Black Friday, where the Department of Justice basically shut down online poker for all Americans. So American poker players had to move anywhere but America if they wanted to play online. But you still had to get like bank accounts, and so it's still like a hard process. So a lot of people like quit poker from that were professionals at the time. So I decided with a group of my friends, two of my friends, we were going to go to Costa Rica for 3 months. So that was cool, living in Costa Rica for a couple months. They have a lot of like, every year there's a World Series of Poker in Las Vegas, which is what you see on ESPN.
Okay.
So for like 2 months out of the year, you get to go there and you get to see like your old friends you haven't seen. And then they have tournament stops all over, like in all countries. Like last year I was in Barcelona for like 2 weeks with friends just to go for like a tournament series. So you kind of base your vacations on where there's going to be a tournament series. Okay. And then you make like a vacation out of that as well after you're not playing poker. And like they had because of COVID, they had the World Series of Poker this year online. So I got a house in Mexico with a couple of my friends for what was supposed to be like 2 weeks. But then I lost my passport.
Oh,
met some other people and ended up, I didn't know what Tulum was, which was like next to where we were. Have you heard of Tulum? And it was like the only place that you could travel to that they didn't care really about COVID for Americans. So I ended up staying there for like a couple of months once I found out that city and had like new friends to hang out with there.
That's awesome.
It was cool.
Dang. No, that's sick that you literally you can go anywhere as long as the money's there. What would you say? Like, so say it's 4,000 for flights and living, like usually on average, do you usually break even? Do you usually make enough money to cover your travel? Like, how does that
You
look?
can't really break even because you're gonna have way too much stress.
Yeah.
If you're playing with like the only money you have, that's extremely stressful. Like so they call it bankroll management. For any game you play, you want to have at minimum 30 times whatever you're buying in for. And that's just your poker bankroll.
Okay.
So if you're playing $1 game, you need to have $30 just to like play poker. Now you need a life roll too. So you need thousands of dollars for a life roll. And it's tough to, more so like when I was younger, it's tough to disassociate the money you're playing for in poker to real life things. Like when you're playing for thousands of dollars in poker, like my friends and I would have jokes. Like if we wanted to do something, we'd be like, "Oh, that's just if we lose one poker hand." So you have to disassociate money from poker. Like we call them big blinds, basically.
Okay. So a big blind is when you disassociate money, or?
So on the poker table,
Yeah.
every hand, people have to put in an ante. They have to put in a small blind, which is say $1 for this example, and then a big blind, which is like $2 for this example. And then that goes around every hand that moves to the left. So the next person has to put in the 2 and the 1 and the 2 and the 1. So most cash games you buy in for 100 times what the big blind is. Dang. So if the big blind's 2, the buy-in's usually 200. And in poker, you're always thinking in this bet is big blinds. Like how many big blinds is this bet compared to the actual money value? But even after playing forever, it's still, your heart still goes crazy if you're doing like, you're going for this big bluff versus like some guy who is probably only folding 30% of the time, but then they fold and it's like, yay, really? But yeah.
What's the most you've ever won in a game?
The thing with poker is it's hard to get into, as a pro, it's hard to get into big games.
Okay.
Because they don't want you when you're a pro. So the way you get into these is they're usually at they're called home games, usually at people's like houses or offices or somewhere. And the people have to really like you because the people have to basically just really like you. So it's hard to get into big games for that reason. And the sketchy thing about these home games is it's basically all off trust. So like I've been scammed a bunch playing these home games, but that's where you find like the action. So you have to go play in home games instead of at casinos because casinos have more pros and the recreational players don't like going there because of all the pros.
When you say you get scammed, what do you mean you were scammed? Like robbed?
Oh, well, one thing is they do get robbed, but I've never been robbed like at gunpoint or anything. I mean, like when the game's over, say John lost $200, but John's not paying. So like you're not gonna go beat the guy up for the $200. And you are when it's at a larger scale, but I mean, I don't have the heart to do that. So
yeah.
But so I used to play in a really big game in like Tampa and Orlando.
Okay.
When this is like 6 years ago. And people would be sitting in that game like towards the end of the night. Well, the game would last for like 2 days sometimes. These people have stamina. And like towards the end of the night, sometimes people have 50,000 in front of them, like a lot of the times. So now you're playing sometimes $60,000 pots and hope you win them.
It just sounds, I mean, like I've told you before, like, dude, I don't even know how to play poker, but to me, that just sounds so stressful. Like the stamina, like when you say the stamina of 2 days of playing potentially, like how does
Yeah,
that work? Are these people just drinking coffee, energy drinks, smoking
dude,
cigs?
I don't
Like,
know. I mean, I would use the cheat code. I call them performance enhancing drugs, which is Adderall. So,
ah,
like after hour 8, I just take Adderall and that.
wow.
But a lot of them don't do. They just drink coffee and like smoke cigarettes. I
The
don't
good
know.
players probably aren't drinking, I would imagine.
So that, yeah, a lot of the smart people don't. That was kind of my way to get into these games, though. Is I was like the kid that would drink a lot.
Really?
But that being said, I think like the Adderall would balance off drinking,
Yeah.
and I could drink for like a day straight, kind of, and play with them. But then you're sure as shit sleeping the following like 2 days,
Yeah.
which is heck. But that was kind of the way I got into these games, was
Wow,
by boozing, really.
man. Back to the Costa Rica. I'm still thinking about Costa Rica. Where'd you stay in Costa Rica? Was it San
We stayed in
Jose or
Playa Hermosa, which is
okay.
next to Taco.
Okay.
Um, and the two people I was with really love surfing too. So
Biggest left break right down there.
yeah, it's the one of the most powerful beach breaks.
Yeah,
The Playa Hermosa is.
I've been to Costa Rica many times, man. I love it there. Golfito and you have Pavones. Pavones is crazy, man. Biggest left break,
There
strongest.
is, dang, I haven't gone outside of Playa Hermosa. I've gone back like 3 times, but for some reason I always go there. But it's great surf, like
Oh man,
great people too.
it's so cool, man, to see. I mean, anytime you get to leave the United States and just go see a different perspective on life is awesome. And Costa Rica is just the people are so friendly there, man.
Pura
And
Vida.
dude, Pura Vida, good beer, by the way. But
Great
no,
beer.
it's
It's
it's a
cheap.
great place and it's hilarious. Not hilarious, but it's funny to see um these little beach towns, man, and people just live so casual. Like you ever notice that in South America, man? Like they are just so chill. Like the
Yeah,
lifestyle's cruising.
they're not pretentious and very altruistic.
No, not at all. I think that's definitely a Western trait. So
Yes, super family oriented. Good
yeah,
vibes. Good
yeah,
vibes for sure.
yeah. So how do you like living in Miami right now, considering you just moved
I
here?
like
Like,
the
what's your first
at,
perspective
at
of it?
first I was a little like in shock with all the cars in the city.
Mm-hmm.
But then you start meeting people and I like that. There's beautiful girls when you walk around. So
Sure,
that's always a plus. It's a nice little melting pot. But
it
I
is, man.
moved here for poker, but haven't played any poker yet. I guess on like iPads I've been playing, but
Hey, whatever. I mean, that's why it's so interesting to hear like what you do for a living. Like you could literally like during quarantine, you were still working. Like a lot of people are probably like out of
yeah,
jobs, and you're over here probably more employed than ever because you're
yeah,
bored.
like club poker took over. Like people created clubs on these apps, and
Wow.
they're dying now because like COVID's ending. But
Sure.
there was a big boom when they started.
Huh.
So yeah, I used to like meet up with friends that lived around town to like, get a place somewhere and just play like on our apps for on our iPads for like a couple days, just for a break from Corona.
Is that really how it goes though? Like when you say you and your buddies literally just you get like a place on the beach or whatever for like you're in Costa Rica or you're in Spain or you're in wherever. You literally just get like an Airbnb and you guys are in your own rooms kind of with your computers or with your iPads and you're just kind of headphones on, full focused on poker for X amount of hours.
Yeah, some people can do it longer than others.
Yeah.
Depends if you're a robot or not. I could be a robot and play for 14 hours, 24 hours, but my like not many people that I know do that. I
Yeah.
guess it's like an addiction kind of in a way.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely think it is. I'm looking up right now. What is there was an online poker movie. Like it was like a documentary. Um,
There's been a few. One
it
was called A
was
Kid's Game.
a kid's game. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. That
Dude, crazy.
yeah, that was that's online poker basically. That's cool that you've seen that.
Well,
So like,
I don't know. I think I saw most of it like on YouTube. I forget where I saw it, but I remember watching it and I was just blown away by just how much money is in it and the people's backgrounds. Like it's just insane, man, how you can go from any background and become something. Like it's not like that game, you know, cares, what your background is. It's as long as you got the money, as long as you're willing and able to just sit there and play against other people, you can do very well in that job.
yeah, that's what's cool about it is as long as you have money, you can go and play with the best. Like in other sports, you don't really have chances to play with the best ever.
Mm-mm.
But if in poker, all you need is the money and they'll
Yeah.
like happily accept you to play. so
So I mean, so with that, with money, sponsors is the next question I got for you. Like, how do
yeah,
you how do you get sponsors, or like say you don't have
so
the money?
sponsors are you have to do well in tournaments.
Okay.
But tournaments is a big misconception for people being good at poker. Like I'd say the top 20 biggest tournament winners in the world, 15 of them can't win anymore. But it says they have 20 million in cashes. It doesn't say they have 50 million in tournament buy-ins.
Hmm.
So that's how you get sponsored though, is you have to do well in tournaments.
And it's just a contractual agreement they give you, and
Yeah, and they don't really give you that much unless you're like one of the top like 5 known people, like Phil Hellmuth, Daniel Negreanu,
yeah.
all them. Because I say I have like 6 people in my like close poker circle, and
Okay.
the World Series of Poker main event 2 years ago, my friend my friend Tony got second in it, which is crazy because we always wondered like, all right, when's one of us gonna like finally do something big?
Yeah.
But we don't really play many tournaments. But that's like the biggest one. It's televised on ESPN. So that was crazy to experience, seeing your boy just like getting interviewed. And when they're playing heads up at the end, there's like the 10 million in cash on the table. And the thing with tournaments is a lot of the people don't want to invest 100% of the buy-in.
Hmm.
So they'll sell pieces to their friends. So in a way, like they're getting sponsored by their friends to play these tournaments.
Wow.
So when your friend is now like getting second in the main event, like he's playing for 10 million, say he has 50% of himself, well, that other 50% is now going to our other friends who are
Investing in
like,
them.
they're investing in him and about to like have a 500K payday each, which was crazy to be around. So that was fun. And then next year happens to another one of our poker circle friends. We're like, what's going on? He ended up getting sixth, but
What's like
it's
a
just cool.
payout for sixth? Like how much do you?
Sixth, I think, was 1.8 million.
Wow. Dude, that is
Wild.
life-changing money, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
Like,
that's every poker player's dream, is to final table, which is the final 9, that tournament.
oh,
So for it to happen back to back to 2 people I talk a lot with and came up in poker with. Like we used to play at the same casinos, go to music festivals all the time, party together, go to each other's houses. That was like the dream, when you're coming up.
absolutely. Now,
Then
do
if
you not?
then if
Now, do you have to pay capital gains on that, or is that a special tax? Like, how does that work? Say you make 10
yeah.
million. Like, what does that look
Well,
like?
you get to write off like your other tournament buy-ins if you played
Okay.
any. So like sometimes you played, say, $100,000 in tournaments and you won one for 100,000, but then they cancel each other out
Mm.
because Those were
Interesting.
buy-ins. So yeah, they got taxed really heavily though, because they're not playing that many tournaments for that size ever.
Yeah. 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 I don't understand. It's insane. I mean, dude, it's even insane to me to think like within the next couple of years, because of this administration and things that are changing, like capital gains, like it's like 40%, man. Like that there
Dude, it's sick.
I think it's gonna take a lot of incentive away from people, man, like to even play. And
For tournaments, yes, because that's like you get a W too.
yeah.
But in cash games, they don't really have any record of cash games. They kind of just have record on if you're putting money like in the bank.
Interesting.
So a lot of poker players just have like a lot of cash stored in like safety deposit boxes because they don't want to get taxed on it.
Wow. That's insane. But yeah, I mean, you're right. It's probably the best on paper. Come tax season, they probably look like they're barely making ends meet, but really they're driving.
Yeah, if you're smart, that's how you try to make it
Absolutely. You got to hide your money in real estate and things.
Yeah.
What's like your do you have like a goal, or do you have like a specific thing? You're like, if I ever win this, I'm gonna buy this. Like, what's like your dream purchase or prize that you'd buy yourself as a
When I was younger, I used to set like I want X amount of dollars goals, but I find those when you reach those goals, you're never happier. Like setting money goals, even though it's a money driven game, will never make you happier. So it's kind of like hard to set goals. Goals are kind of just on like having a better lifestyle. So it's not really that
like
you
that.
have like poker goals. You kind of just have
life goals?
Life goals.
Huh.
But,
Which one of your biggest goals you're trying to work towards right now?
would be this construction project that's going to happen in 2 months. That was something I always wanted as a child.
And
what I
what
saw
is
my father do.
what's exactly the project?
We're just building a warehouse, and then it's going to be mine, and I'm just going to rent it out. That's it.
Dude, that's
simple.
So is it going to be one of those like barnuminiums, or like
It's just going to be like 2 units, and it's like relatively small, but
it's cool.
it's just like a commercial warehouse.
Are you're gonna obviously still be working remotely and stuff, but you're gonna be Airbnb-ing them, or
no, just people will like call you to rent it, and then you sign a year agreement on it. It's like commercial. It's just basically like cinder block, really. It's like dressed up cinder block for like shops or people use them as storage.
That's cool. Where's it gonna be located?
That's also gonna be in my hometown.
Okay.
So I have to go back home for that.
Is real estate fairly cheap?
Oh yeah, real estate's like very good in like those areas, unless you're on the beach. And we'll see where this one goes. Might lead to more.
I hope so, man. I think that's exciting. What would you say the one big thing that is a misunderstanding about being a professional poker player, or being someone in your position? Like, I feel like there's a lot of people out there like, oh, that's not a real job or whatever.
Yeah,
but like, what would you say the biggest misunderstanding is?
The biggest misunderstanding is that it's luck, I would say, because it's related to gambling. But really, the people that are putting in the most work are the ones crushing. And now there's a lot of like software available to where if you want to run what we call simulations, you can get like AI outputs.
Okay.
And it'll tell you what to do with certain hands in certain spots. That being said, there's always there's an infinite combination of hands, really. So it's kind of like solving a puzzle.
Yeah, when I think it's like the Queen's Gambit. Have you seen that show?
Yeah, that was a great one.
I feel like that's to me like what poker players are like, man, where you're kind of like just studying the cards, and it's like Rain Man.
I compare it to like a day trader. You have to deal with like the same swings. All day traders say they're relatable, which I see.
And you said you're trying to get into day trading, right? Or you're
I was like doing a lot of crypto stuff.
yeah.
I just found it entertaining. But the actual like looking at charts, I mean, I've tried to put in hours studying it, but like I'm not. That's hard. That's reading. It's way too hard.
No, that's
kind of didn't have the drive.
I would love to get a day trader, a professional day trader, or a stockbroker, or someone like a broker on my podcast, because I think myself and so many people out there want to know so much about, like, you're right. I've read charts. I've read just different trending sheets. I've read tips. I've watched YouTube videos, all of it.
Yeah.
And dude,
then you get out there and you start getting wrecked.
Yeah. I mean, like,
money,
like,
so it's not fun.
No, you have like the three, the horsemen, they call it like the three horsemen, where it's like the trends go up and it's going to dip. And you see, like, just I've been trying to learn different things, and believe it or not, TikTok's pretty useful for stocks. Surprisingly,
it's
but
useful
I still don't
for
understand.
Like the random TikTok coins. It was like a joke on crypto Twitter that we're all being traded. We're losing to people on TikTok, basically. It's like, and they've been putting in like 10 years into trading.
No, I know. And
the TikTok coins crushed.
Is that like a cryptocurrency?
Well, like everyone from TikTok was preaching Dogecoin and like that Shiba coin.
Yeah.
And
the meme coins.
The meme coins did way better than the coins with actual value.
But like, if that doesn't tell you something about our generation, man, I mean, look at it right now, man. I mean, every time I go on Instagram or the news, the biggest headlines are TikToker is fighting Instagram star.
Yep.
It's like,
I actually watched his interview today, Logan Paul's interview.
Like, you see, you know what I mean, dude? It's
I clicked.
It's crazy. Like, back in the day, man, you used to have two professional fighters like Mike Tyson and whoever, fighting. And that was like, two professional fighters. That was what they do. And they're doing that. It's the big title fight. Now it's, influencer versus influencer, and they train and they make millions off of it.
Yeah,
man.
They're making tens of millions each.
Dude, Jake Paul, I think they said he has like one of the, I forget how much money he made against Ben.
I know he paid Ben $1 million to even fight him, but he must have made 10 or more.
I mean, he came out of retirement from the UFC for it, but I know even if you saw him when he was walking off the arena, he was smiling. Dude, he's like,
yeah, thanks.
$1 million to get beat up real quick. Okay, sure, kid, take your glory.
So I was surprised, like the betting line on Jake Paul was minus 130 it opened at.
Yeah.
It's like it should have been minus 1,000. Like that's Ben had no training for him.
No training. He looked out of shape. He looked like a sack of potatoes, dude.
He did. He looked like an actual potato out there.
Whatever.
I mean, Jake once. I don't think Jake got hit, but
yeah. Where do you see the future of sports? With that being said, especially now that you have people getting influenced by, you have like these influencers fighting and doing these events, whether it's charity or personal. Like, I'm curious to see where all that goes, and that even goes into like NFTs, man. Like the NFTs of these people.
Yeah, who knows what's gonna happen with NFTs? Tech
taking over, man.
It is.
Do you have any NFTs? I meant to ask you tonight because we were talking.
No. I never got into NFTs. I didn't know enough about them, but I have a couple friends that live here actually that did well off of them. One of them just spent $200K on a Meebit, which is like the Lego.
It's like the 16-bit picture.
Yeah, I don't think he's doing well on it, but it's crazy that they're spending that much money on a 16-bit picture.
I had my bunny on here on episode 3. We were talking about it, my buddy Hunter, and I'm trying to understand it, and I think I'm trying to convince myself that I know what I'm talking about. But dude, I just don't understand the concept still. Like to me, it's still wild that people are paying real fiat currency for a JPEG. Or it's just crazy.
Joke could be on us in 10
Yeah.
years,
Yeah,
but
I mean, we'll see
currently
how
the
this
joke's on
podcast
them.
ages. I might have to play this one in like 10 years back to me talking, be like, this is so stupid. And now I'm over here like, what was I thinking?
Yeah, I wouldn't even know which ones to start in. But like one of my buddies like bought these crypto cats for probably spent like $1,000 on crypto cats, and then 2 weeks later it turns it into like 40K. What?
Really?
It's like you're getting these for free basically. But
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Yeah, I mean, dude, the whole crypto market right now, it's going down and up. And it was
Yeah.
going down. If people didn't get into it last week, they should have.
Yeah. I mean,
Are you
we'll
are you
see.
are you still buying stuff? Are you holding off for another dip? What are you doing?
I actually got liquidated for 75% of my portfolio during that last dip.
Oh
Because
no.
I was leveraging a lot of coins,
Oh.
but
Litecoins?
no, I was just leveraging a lot of coins,
Uh
and I
who,
didn't set
who
my leverage that high, but like that was the biggest liquidation day for crypto ever.
you got screwed.
Yeah, they got me.
Do you see a lot of do you think a lot of poker players and stuff like that are moving their money to, or is there any like crypto based poker
So a lot
tables?
of they've tried to make
Yeah.
those. They don't like really seem to do well. But the way to transfer money around in online poker before Bitcoin blew up was using Bitcoin.
Hmm.
So a lot of poker players already knew about Bitcoin through that and did very well,
Wow.
just like holding it kind of and believing in it.
Holding the line. Yeah.
You gotta hold the line, man.
Well, I mean,
Hold the line.
it's like the black market, man, where a lot of dealers, I read, I think it was a Vice article, man, that they were saying how there was like so many drug dealers that were on the Silk Road black market
Yep.
that used to
Why wouldn't
only,
you be?
yeah, I mean, they used to only, I mean, if you've ever been on the black market, it's, you buy it from an individual who was obviously a drug dealer or something, but you have to pay it through the Bitcoin. And
Yeah,
supposedly
or
they were logging in, like a lot of these dealers just kept like a wallet of all that cash on their account for the black market. And they went on, and there was like overnight millionaire kind of things where it's like all of these drug dealers who had like hundreds of Bitcoins through selling things looked on it one day when Bitcoin blew up, and
it's wacky.
it's so crazy.
A lot of young people got extremely wealthy off that.
Oh yeah, man. I've
Wild.
seen a YouTube video on a kid who was like a millionaire at 17 because he bought it when he was like in elementary school, or his parents bought it for, I forget what it was, but
Yeah. Or even like now, if you get into a project really early, you could still like 100x. But
I think, man,
that's hard.
I think we're still so early in all of this.
Yeah. Depends how much you want to gamble.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty good at gambling, so clearly you didn't do too well this week, but there's always there's a pick me up.
Yeah.
So.
Thankfully, one thing, probably the biggest thing poker's taught me is not to get mad over things you can't control. Because you're getting in so many situations that you don't have control over, but that was the right play.
Yeah.
So with crypto, it's kind of the same. Like you get used to wins and losses, so that's just adds on to the fun degeneracy of the whole thing.
Absolutely. So who with that, I mean, who taught you to play? Did you teach yourself? Like, who would you say is your biggest mentor or role model, or just someone that you can attribute you learning the game of poker to?
I would say a training site called Run It Once Poker.
Run It Once?
Yeah, runitonepoker.com. I would just put in like hours on end and just watch, study, play a lot, get yourself in high variance situations where you kind of have to, like, the hardest thing is learning how to bluff and when to bluff. And like, people can play like hands well when it, like, your cards match the board, but no limit hold'em, no one really has a good hand ever. So learning to bluff well when you're starting out, you just have to put yourself in a lot of awkward situations and just get destroyed and realize why you got destroyed. And like, just ask your friends, or that's kind of how I learned. But now you can actually, like I mentioned earlier, there's a software to type in the hands and what hands the villain, I guess we call the people we're playing against villain, will show up with the percentage of the time, and then you just have to like memorize those outputs. But there's also, that's what you call like game theory optimal.
Okay.
Is when you're playing like a robot basically. And then I think the biggest winners understand that, but know how to exploit everyone. So just because you're doing this to player one doesn't mean you're going to take this line versus player two. So the reason why you're doing things versus each player is like different. It's not like the same, oh, learn how to do this, like, and it'll work versus everyone. It's like, no, there's a lot of little things going on for the reason why you're taking that decision.
That's interesting. Yeah, one thing I do wonder too, also while you're talking about it with poker and that, is I wonder if there's been ever like hackers who like take simulators and then take like the AI software and make it like their own account.
The problem with these hackers is they're so bad at cheating.
Really?
Like, they make it way too obvious. So like, there was some scandal like 8 years ago where a guy won millions of dollars, but professionals realize there's no way this guy could be winning at this win rate and playing like this unless he's seen my cards. And then eventually it turns out, the guy sees your cards, the guy can see your cards. And
wow,
unfortunately, at that time, if he doesn't have the money on the site anymore, then you like, how do you go after this guy?
Secret Service probably goes after him, and it's fraudulent.
Yeah, I thought you could get away with it, but then I listened to an interview last night where a guy was cheating in these app games for like, he scammed some pros out of millions, but once again, he made it obvious, and now he's in jail. So you can go to jail for that. So thankfully the cheaters aren't smart enough yet, but I'm sure there is some that are smart enough. And
they're just going undetected.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like
but it's still kind of really hard to go undetected, because if you're cheating, you probably want to cheat for a lot of money. So the people playing for a lot of money like understand win rates and what you should be doing in situations. So that's what kind of makes it hard to cheat.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. I think with the rise of technology, I think that probably online poker would get probably bigger than smaller. I mean, would you say that online poker's gotten bigger, obviously because of COVID, but do you think it's the future?
That's what's gotten bigger because of COVID isn't really online poker. It's just like apps, which are like clubs created by a bunch of people where they all know each other. It's not like where we're going, like, it's not connected to like Europe and all that. Online poker right now is tough as shit. Like, it's
because it's all elite players.
It's not at all what it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was like much easier to win. 5 years ago, it was much easier to win. Now it's just very hard to win. Everyone's really good now, and because of the like information that became available over the last 5 years. But
crazy that you can see such an effect off of the growth of social media and YouTube. Like, if you think about it, like, in the rise of technology is just growing rapidly so quick to where, it takes me if I wanted to, I could probably learn how to play poker in the next hour, at least. Just if I wanted to, like, at least learn the basics, to
Yeah,
where
you
you're
should
right.
be able,
5 years ago, that was not there.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, you could learn the rules in an hour probably.
That's incredible, man. I think you're right. If it's going to get harder, it's going to make people go elsewhere to find to play. And I think that it's interesting that you said that there's those different rooms and stuff. Do you think that that's right or wrong to have those rooms? Like, do you think that there's definitely like some inside deals happening with people like, hey man, like this, like being a
So
newcomer going into
that's some
those?
like something you have to worry about is like say there's 9 of us in the game, like maybe I'm putting you into the game.
Mm-hmm.
So then like I'm backing you to play it. So we don't really want to like we don't really want to take each other's chips if really there's no net positive in that.
Yeah.
So that's something you have to worry about within home games. But to like cheat in live poker, there's no value in that. You're not making any money trying to cheat in live poker. And live
Okay.
poker will always be a thing. I don't think that's going anywhere because people are always going to be bad at live poker.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, some people just don't want to go out in public and go play. You know, they'd rather just sit on their couch in the comfort of you know, or on a beach or wherever and play. I think it's just a lot more enjoyable than going in
Right.
person.
I was saying like the live
Oh, you
arena,
mean in
like
person? In person.
yeah, like
Yeah.
going to casinos will always be good, but
Yeah.
the big online sites are basically just 18-year-olds who are studying all day long.
Well, with that, like, I wonder too, though, man. Like, I know there's a huge stigma with going to casinos because, you know, like the saying, you know, the house always wins. Like,
So the thing with that is how the house wins is they take something called rake.
okay.
So every hand, the rake is usually like $5.
Mm,
So when if you're playing for like $200, yeah, it's kind of impossible to beat that rake if you're not really, really good, which people that go there don't realize. Like they really can't win playing like 1-2, which is a common game in casinos. But the next step is like 2-5, where you buy in for 500. That's beatable for like pros for like $50 an hour. And like the 5-10, which is like $1,000 to $3,000 buy-ins. Those are beatable for like $200 if you're really good, $100. So the rake doesn't affect you the higher you play.
okay.
So
And do you play any other games other than poker when you go? Or are you strictly play, like, are you good at, like, if you're good at one, are you good at other ones? Or usually,
so any other game in the casino, you can't actually beat. The house wouldn't run the game if you could beat it in the long run. So I know how to play most of those games perfectly, but I have lost a bunch of money over the last years playing them, which is something as a professional was hard for me not to play those other games. Like you come drunk and you're in Vegas and like your friends are playing. So you go play them and then you get an ego when you're drunk and you sometimes lose a fuck ton of money doing that.
sure.
But poker is like me versus you. The
Yeah.
house is only taking that $5. So over time you can crush that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm definitely very intrigued to learn poker. You got to teach me, man. Like I want, I got to learn this game, or maybe I'll learn online and I'll come.
Yeah, there's like teaching it's very difficult. There's some good YouTube, like this guy Ben CB.
Okay.
He has the best free YouTube like videos of him playing and talking about why he's doing what he's doing. But it's still like for anyone, I'd say if you're just starting out, for you to beat 2-5 no limit in a casino, which is like to be able to buy in for $500 and consistently win, you probably have to study for 5 years.
Wow.
Which stinks.
Dude, so I don't know why I just
you
thought
have
of
to constantly lose in the beginning.
Have you ever thought about You know, it'd be a great business for you, man. Have you ever considered doing like coaching? Like, you know, there's like coaching seminar, like, what's going on, guys? Swipe up if
Yeah,
you want me. Like, have you ever thought about
there's a
making your own brand?
yeah. There's just already such good information out there that
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I could compete with, and I don't want to
Okay.
like sell snake oil to
Sure.
people just to make money. But there, you could do personal coaching, which I've tried with like people I've staked like for free because they're using my money to play,
Mm-hmm.
and I find it very hard for them to understand concepts that you're trying to explain, to where like I just stopped like trying to teach
That's fair, I guess.
because it's which sounds like cocky,
Eh, not really.
but it's I don't know, it's like so in depth.
Well, I mean, you know, everyone has different wavelengths and different strategies and different ways of understanding it, you know? So I guess that makes sense kind of to where, you know, you might have this idea, this tactic in mind in which you use, or this strategy that you use consistently that works, but you tell me it and I'm like, I don't understand exactly, you know? So
Right.
or like I just look at the game completely different. Like I just don't understand it on the perspective in which you do, so I wouldn't understand it, which makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, which
Um,
even like even top pros, like a lot of them play situations differently, but
mhm.
both of the ways you're playing them could be right, because it's not a solved game yet. No one really knows.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, did you ever see like do you see yourself doing this full time? Like, is there an end game? Like, that's I guess probably one of the beautiful things about poker is there's really no retirement. You can kind of just play until you can't think anymore.
Yeah, I lost the drive to put in as many hours playing as I used to, for
Hmm.
sure. That's why I'm kind of like trying to build this and maybe see where that goes. But I don't think I'll ever stop playing.
Hmm.
I just don't want to play for like 12 hours a day anymore,
Yeah, you want
and
to enjoy life a little bit.
don't want to sit around either.
Hmm.
It's I'm losing love for it, I guess. I'm losing the passion that I once had, which
Well,
is kind of like with anything.
yeah, I mean, I think that's all right though, too. I mean, I think if anything, you know, you're getting a little older and you're trying to figure out, you know, like, hey, I'm passionate in other stuff. You're getting into real estate. Hey, I'm kind of interested in real estate. Maybe I want to go down that venture. I want to take all this money that I've made and invest it in X, Y, and Z. And I think that's all right, man. I mean, I think, you know, I'm kind of going through that phase too, to where you're just ready for something different. You're ready for a change. And I think
Yeah, yeah,
change is
you're going
great.
through that too. It's like
Yeah. I
that's what
mean,
you're telling me after you did it for what, 8 years?
yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that's like the cutoff. 8 to 10. It's just like, okay, what else can we do?
Yeah.
Life's
No.
short. We can do plenty of things if we
Well,
put our time
and
into
that's
it.
the thing, man. I respect the heck out of anyone, you know, who sticks with jobs, you know, and is retired and sticks with it a job for 10 plus years. Like that's awesome. That's a huge feat in itself. But I mean, I think with the growth and just the changing of technology and just society, you know, people are getting bored quicker. People are finding, you know, there's so many resources out there to figure out what you're passionate about.
Yes, that's the beauty of with technology is you can just go on YouTube and learn anything you
Yeah,
want.
I can go to YouTube and type in, you know, remote jobs, and it'll be like poker player. Like, oh wow, you know, and say I like poker. Wow, I could literally be remote and play this, like, and make money. Like that's awesome. Or I could be a travel mogul or a influencer or digital crypto. You know, there's so many jobs out there that are remote now, man. It's crazy. Or not even remote. Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are just like self-employed now, doing something relating to technology.
oh yeah, and it's I think it's only gonna get bigger. I
Yeah,
think this is just the beginning. So we'll see, man. But if you could give yourself, I mean, you said you were what, 30, you're 31?
31 now.
31, yeah. So if you could go back 15 years, you know, what would you tell yourself? You know, would you tell yourself to continue like to do the exact path in which you did? Or do you have any regrets or are you pretty content with the way your life's gone? this far?
Yeah, I think I had like the best 10 years I could have.
Absolutely.
What I would tell myself then would, like, there's a lot of things you tell yourself 15 years ago. Where to start?
Yeah.
You know nothing
Yeah.
about the world at that time.
Yeah.
As far as I wouldn't choose another route, because the other thing I want to do, I'm getting to do now. So it's nice to have that there. Something to tell yourself, like you're just talking specifically with poker in 15 years. If I would tell myself that, like,
Yeah.
don't be a degenerate with like your money. Like when you're going places, like don't be the idiot just because you have money.
Huh. Yeah, I think that applies to everything, man. Like just because you know,
that's what they don't teach us in school. It's
no,
like
they don't.
Finances, taxes, they don't teach you how to save money or anything.
No, and I think that's the biggest I think that's one of the biggest struggles with this not generation, because I think it's always been a thing, but you're right. In school, they don't teach you, they got rid of home economics. They got rid of, all these important class health, like,
oh, they got rid of health. Wow.
Yeah, like gen ed, like, health education, like stuff like that, like things that are important at a young age. Like, I wish I knew how to balance a checkbook. I wish I knew how to do taxes. I wish I knew how to save money properly, the importance of a dollar, and I think now it relies nowadays strictly on the parents and where you're raised. And it's unfortunate, man. I think that everyone deserves that right. And I think it's just not getting taught. So I hope it gets better, man. But before I let you go, what is the best way, to anyone that's out there listening, what's the best way that they can get in contact with you? They can look you up, maybe if they have questions or they just want to see what you're up to. What's the best way for them to reach you on social media?
I would say my Instagram.
Okay.
Which is __ McNamara, McNamara.
I will I'll drop that in the comments below when I post this. And yeah, man, I think that what you do is a very cool job. I think it's very niche and very unique, and that's why the minute you told me, oh, I play poker professionally, I was like, I got to get this guy on, because I know before this podcast, I knew little to nothing about the game and the lifestyle of a poker player. I think it's very unique and very cool. So
appreciate Chris, it, man. I think your job was dope too.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I really appreciate you stopping by today and kind of just having a conversation with me about what you do, man. And I look forward to seeing you in the future, brother.
You too, Kyle. I had a good time. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being here. Later, brother.
Peace, bro.
Later, man.
Dude, I want that job.
Guys, thanks so much for tuning in today to Dude, I Want That Job, the educational podcast to help you find your desire and passion through other people's job experiences.